Brother teacher here. There's now a new rule with the National Football League as it relates to kneeling during and or before a football game during the national anthem. It is just blatantly not allowed anymore. If you are found kneeling, you, the player, and or your team could be financially, and will be, I should say, financially penalized, fined. Go figure, ladies and gentlemen. In this country that we call the land of the free, home of the brave, the bold, the courageous, the rich, the wealthy, the most prosperous country on the planet, supposedly the most powerful military on the planet, a country that espouses that it loves its people. How in the world can you take away someone's First Amendment right? How? Now, let's even back up further. Forget about the First Amendment. We have inalienable and unalienable rights given to us from our Creator. The freedom of speech. No man has to tell us that we have the freedom of speech. We already had that when we were born. But all they did was put it on a piece of paper in a document and said that we have the right to the freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly, peacefully assembling, and so forth. But look at this. One football player, Colin Kaepernick, made a statement a couple years ago by kneeling because of all of the needless shootings and or killings of black folks by the hands of law enforcement. He was just making a statement saying, when is this crap going to end? When it appears that the government cares and starts doing something about it, then I'll stop taking the knee. That's all he was saying. And so this caused a chaotic result, an epidemic, if you will, across the planet, not to mention in the United States. They're the patriotic individuals who say, he should have never done that. There's a time and a place for that. But you answer this question. When is the proper time and the proper place to speak your rights, to talk about your rights behind closed doors? We found being black in America, that's never mattered. That's never accounted for anything. Every time you tell someone that they are abusing you or oppressing you, or your oppressor, if you tell him that, they don't stop oppressing you. Sometimes you have to take it to a national or an international stage so that people can be conscious of it. So it can be right there in their face. Just like racism is right there in our faces every single day. So, to take away your right to express your rights is treasonous. And the fact that Donald Trump supports this bullcrap is even worse. We are living in a totalitarian government, country, so to speak. Yes, it's a fascist nation, and it's been that way a long time. And as Malcolm X said, the chickens have come home to roost. In other words, to interpret that for you, all that simply means is what has already been the truth is now even more apparent to us, or it should be. Do you really see the truth now? America has always been this way. Racist, as it relates to black folks. Now, let me touch on this before I go. The man that's responsible for the national anthem, Francis Scott Key, he became a prisoner in 1815. He was aboard a British military ship, and he comprised the words to that song, our national anthem that we call it today. Did you know that there were some parts in that particular anthem that was left out? Hold on a second, and I'll make you privy to that. Okay, listen to this. And this is public information. Some people just don't want to look it up. Some people choose not to know the actual truth. All of the atrocities that have been carried out by the American government. Okay. No refuge could save the hireling and the slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. Francis Scott Key wrote that into the national anthem. What was he talking about? So I'm going to leave a link at the bottom of this video in the comment section for you to go ahead and look that up on your own, and you can read the whole national anthem where he espoused slavery. Francis Scott Key was a white supremacist. He was a prosecutor in Washington, D.C. in the early 1800s. He didn't like black folks, period. So when he wrote the national anthem, he was writing it for white supremacists just like he were. That's simple. So, is it unusual, hundreds of years later, to have a Colin Kaepernick to take a knee because he understands that, and then subsequently various other players, NFL and even the NBA, start taking knees in other sports as well, because we all are beginning to understand that we are still considered a nigger. We're still considered less than a human being. Notwithstanding those few people that are in the entertainment industry and in sports and in music and in the movies and so on and so forth, because that pales when you look at the big picture. The majority of black people, the vast majority of black people, are still slaves. That's it. Some are high-priced slaves, and some are just simply slaves. So this thing where they made a rule that you have to stand during the national anthem and you can't kneel or you'll be penalized financially, it was going to happen anyway, because all America is really doing is showing its true colors. You may not like it, what I just said, but it doesn't mean that what I just said is not true. You do the research. And if you won't do the research, guess what? You could possibly be a white supremacist. And if you are a black person that doesn't want to do the research, you could possibly be part of that same structure. All right. The privileged Negro. I'm out.